Hi, I'm Zoe from Lexicon Copy Co. I am a creative copywriter, brand voice designer, and messaging strategist. And my whole shtick is that I create companies that sound more like characters than they do corporations. And my other passion is making sure that we create brand messaging that tells your entire brand story from start to finish, soup to nuts, from the beginnings of your brand's foundation all the way through the time when you're creating nurture copy and brand activations and for every chapter in between.
Oh my gosh, and you make every part of it just captivating. I'm so excited to chat storytelling and your perspective on character development and just all the stories that shape us and our companies into the best expressions of themselves. So
Love
let's get
it.
into it. Where did you get the idea for the way you show up on your Instagram stories with these little vignettes in kind of newspaper format?
Okay, so it's because uh showing up on a video again is energetically draining for me. I 99% of my day I'm in pajamas or like may or may not be wearing a bra. So this is enjoy. this is not my normal work day, but my brand in general is so gorgeous and curated. And I can say that because I didn't come up with it. It's so curated that it feels weird. It feels like a disconnect to just show up super casually, and no shade to anybody who
Hmm.
does. That works really well for a lot of people, but I don't know. It just felt strange for me. So I was trying to think like, what's a thing that is easy for me to do that I don't have to spend a lot of time designing? And I'm like, oh, duh. I'm a writer. I can write. What if I just made myself a bunch of templates and then surely I can think of one semi clever thing to say on the days that I'm working. So far,
Well,
so
I
good.
love it. Consider me one of your most addicted and loyal subscribers because the second I see that format show up in my stories as I'm clicking through, I am like, oh, pause everything.
You are the light of my life. I appreciate you.
Oh my gosh. Well,
Ugh,
this has felt like just such a long time coming because I've been
I
fangirling
know.
over you since I ended up in your
Likewise.
world. Yeah.
Likewise.
It's really, I mean, one, just the way you show up as a human in the world, but
Thank you.
also your dedication to stories.
I don't know any other way to be. So it's really fortunate that it's working out for me.
Oh, thank goodness. Was that always the lens that you looked at writing through and serving your people? Was it always so focused on these narratives and the character development? Because you don't just do storytelling, you build an entire narrative, yeah, character development, all the things around your people.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's always been I've always been a story first. Like my mom used to work in a bookstore when I was a little kid, and my very first job when I was like 11 and they were paying me in free books was at that bookstore. And then I went to college for English. So stories and living through stories has always been the way that I've looked at the world in general. So, like I said, I don't know any other way to be. And it's really nice that I'm able to have a business about it.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, like I can just see people connecting with that so much. The permission to just be what they are and lean into it and develop all of this world around it. I mean, it's the basis of the way I work with people too. So,
I know. That's why you're
yeah,
so awesome.
thanks.
I just know. I feel
Oh,
like that's also like that's why our businesses are so in sync too,
yeah.
because we both appreciate, I think, the value that story has for connecting people and things and not a shortcut, but like the best way to harness authenticity and all sorts of things. And at least for me, it comes from a super duper authentic place because I'm also an only child. And so my books were also my friends when I was small. I would sit, I would read for hours. I was one of those kids that's like, anytime it's time to get in the car, I'm like, can I bring a book? Like, yeah, sure, you can bring a book. So
Oh my God, I love that. I'm so curious too. When I think about the way I talk about storytelling and dare I call it archetypes sometimes, for the
you
people
may.
who that word resonates with. Not, it doesn't with everybody though, third grade
I
reading level
know.
sometimes.
I know that it's fine. It's all about knowing your audience, and
Yes.
archetypes get a bad rap, and you know that you and I can probably rant about that for the length of an entire podcast.
Yes, probably. But I've really been thinking, being intentional in the words I use when I'm talking about what I do in my approach and thinking about, okay, it's storytelling, but beyond just, crafting something to say to people, it's witnessing the story that's already alive in your work. And I feel like that's
Mhm.
a piece I'm, continually working through with people, helping them understand that we're really just going soul deep to excavate what's already in there. And I'm reflecting that
Mhm.
back, not crafting something out of nowhere. So I'm kind of curious, like what you might have seen people misunderstanding about storytelling in the past or your way of looking at it.
Oh man, yeah. Storytelling, I'm so mad. It's one of those words that like got picked up and then used and reused and reused and reused, and it used to
Yeah.
mean something, and it still does mean a lot of things, but it's used so much and so out of context that feels like it doesn't, in a lot of cases. And I think the mistake that a lot of people make with storytelling and branding, I think it's three things. I think one, they think that the story has to be linear, start to finish. Two, they think that the story is about them as the business. And three, they think that the story that they're telling is the story of the person or like their audience finding their product or service and using it. And that's the story. And if that were the case, then every soda commercial you ever saw would be, hey, I'm thirsty. Then I found a can of Coke. The end. Like, there's so much more.
Oh my god, yeah, I'm turning that off immediately. Yeah, it's so fun the opportunity we have to really think more creatively about all this, and it's really not
Yes.
just about our products, our services, our business. What a much more fun way to do this anyways.
100%.
Yeah.
I think I think that storytelling in marketing and branding can do one of two things. Sounds lofty, but it's not. The You can either, as a business, create a world and invite your audience to step into it, or you can show them how well you can step into their world. And that is so much more powerful than I'm thirsty, then I found a can of Coke, you know?
Oh, yeah, I love that. I really love that, especially, ending up in their world, meeting them where they are.
Right.
Mm.
Right. Exactly. And it's both. It's totally dependent on what your goals are for your brand, because like for you, the way that you show up in your branding, at least for me, because your life and your ethos is so different from my life on the central coast of California, I feel like I can escape into yours. It
Mm.
is a breath of fresh air. It is clean. There's space for me to think. There's space for me to ideate. There is space for me to be like poetic and true and stuff like that. You're creating space for me to step into your brand world. I don't have that in my daily life. So, cuz it's just my day-to-day life feels different. So I appreciate that
Mm.
you've created that with your storytelling, a place for me to go. But I'm sure for a lot of your clients, it feels like you're meeting them where they're already at. And that's the cool thing about storytelling.
Hell yeah. Do you do you find in your process that people are going on a journey to figure out who they are and how they want to show up in the world and what they want to say? Because in my world I find that it's very like quasi therapy in the way
Mm,
we go about things too, and there's always that tension like you were talking about before of how much of me and my perspective is coming into this,
right.
right, versus like you said, the story is really about your audience, the journey that they're on, and they're the hero of that story. So I'm just curious,
100%.
if your people are also navigating that.
Oh yeah, like I don't think that that is a journey that most of my audience expects to go on when we start working together. I think that they're more locked into the transactional. And then as you start the strategic process, the messaging process, they find out that it's surprise, today's therapy day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
a lot of the people that I love working with, regardless of what type of business they're running, started it because they feel strongly about it and they have a perspective on it and they have things to say in a way that they want to approach it. So for me, it's just pulling that out of them and reflecting it back at them. I don't think I run into a lot of people who are soul searching and saying like, I don't know what I'm trying to say or what I'm trying to be. I run into people who are like, okay, I need this X, Y, and Z. And then it's my job as the strategist and the storyteller to say, okay, you know how we get there? Got to take a step back and we've got to talk about your where this all began, you know?
Okay, that's so interesting because it's kind of 50-50 for me of the people that come to me saying, I am at this pivotal point in my life
Mhm.
where I'm rediscovering who I am.
Yep.
And they're truly coming to me asking for that, also asking for websites and branding and
Mhm.
whatnot, but they're leading more with that personal discovery, which I find really interesting.
And I'll tell you why. It's because you are a visual storyteller and I'm a verbal storyteller. So
Mm.
people tend to come to the visual storytellers first because that's obviously the first thing that someone sees. It's their aesthetic. It's we define ourselves by what we can see primarily. And so when someone at the time in their process when they're coming to you, it's because they feel a lot more lost. They're searching. They don't know what or who they are. You help them define that, and then they come to me and they think they know who they are, and a lot of times they do. But they're just like, okay, cool, I think I need A, B, and C. And I'm like, oh, sweet baby girl, we're only just getting started.
Oh my gosh. That's such a cool perspective. That makes so much sense. You're so right. Hmm.
Yeah. A lot of people, and it's totally okay that a lot of people, um, it's harder for people to understand verbal storytelling in the context of branding than it is for them to understand visual storytelling. A lot of people think like, "Oh, I just want this to sound like me. I just want it to I want someone who's gonna be able to write the way that I talk," which is fine and valid and a great approach for some people, but there is so much more that you can do.
Yeah.
But it's much harder for people to wrap their minds around it, and a lot of times they don't know it until they're experiencing it
Yeah.
or have experienced it and don't even realize that they have.
Yeah. And there's all that tension around, especially when we're more personal oriented brands, how much of the brand is me, how much
Yeah.
I am in the brand, and that constant, I don't battle is too strong a word, but maybe just tension, like I said, of
Mhm.
each of them vying for, which one needs to come out more in this moment.
Right. That's
Yeah.
why I've developed my approach around characterization, and creating a character for your brand. Because you can, like, if you were creating the movie of your life, you'd have to pick and choose what moments, what story you were going to tell, the perspective that you were going to tell your story from. It would still be about you. It should feel true to you. But it wouldn't exactly be you. We love characters. We connect with characters immediately. I mean, this is like ask a random stranger on the street about the summer I turned pretty. Everybody loves a character. But that's the framework that I use to help people understand that this voice that we're creating is something that is inspired by you, but it is not synonymous with you. Not all of you needs to be in this character that we're building. And you get to decide how that character shows up to the world, which is hard to wrap your brain around, but also really freeing because we're multifaceted beings and not all of us should be in our business.
Yes, very true. So tell me more about the characterization. Like if I came to you and I don't know if you want to think about this from the lens of I already have a somewhat defined brand or if I'm brand
Mhm.
new, but yeah,
Yep.
if I came to you looking for that, where would we start?
So, the same way that you write a good character in a book, you can start creating this brand character. And that's the way that you should do it because it ensures that whatever you build is authentic. So, if you were in acting class, like the first like little cliche joke that you'd make is what's my character's motivation in this scene? But it's really true. Like, what is your motivation? What are your values? That's your bedrock, that's your foundation. And then you build on top of that. So, what's your mission? Where are you going? And then after you've created those bedrock principles about yourself, then you zoom out a little bit and you take a look at in a book, you have a setting Where's your story set? What's happening around you? And you can equate that to like your market. Who is around you? What do you want your relationship to be with the market around you, the setting that you're placed in? And then you got to think about your audience. What do they think of you? So you just kind of build piece by piece, but what you start with are the things that are most true about you, your values, your goal, your mission, and the thing that lights you up and the deeper reason that you are in this business beyond wanting to provide for yourself and your family.
Yeah. Yeah, that deeper purpose sure is telling, isn't it? The best way
Hmm.
to connect with our people. Huh.
Right, because we can, as a people, we can all tell when you're faking it. and
Yeah.
and entrepreneurship is way too hard to do unless you genuinely care about the reasons that you're in business.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
So,
Who are you working with these days a lot? Like, are they mostly service-based businesses, product-based? Who are the peeps in your
um,
world?
it's honestly a nice even split. I'm seeing myself gravitate towards more product based and people who are
Mm.
wanting to tell a what's the best way to phrase this? Like a story that kind of outlives them. So people who are building brands instead of just running their business day to day, they're building something that they want to be able to hand off to somebody, whether they want it to stay around and like hand it off to, their children's children, or if they want to hand it off to a team. But it's the people that are building something that is starting to be past their capacity and expanding into the world. And they want to make sure that there are clear guidelines, that they have a little bit of control over how that brand and character and story shows up in the larger world. So those are all types of people. I just like people who have a good story to tell. So
Which honestly is everyone,
yeah, it
if you
is,
look
which is
closely
nice.
enough.
Uh-huh.
Mm. That's so cool that people are coming for that legacy aspect of
Mhm.
really wanting things to endure. I
Yeah,
love that.
it's never boring. I can tell you that much.
Is part of that type of client and service a little bit of what sparked the writing room? Because I also am obsessed with your ongoing support model.
Oh, the writing room. The writing room came of a a place where all good inspiration comes from at some point, just a teeny bit of frustration.
Yeah.
Because yeah, so there's I realized that I am a seasoned writer and a seasoned storyteller. So for me, the path between planning and execution is very well trod. I know how to look at a plan and how I can visualize what this is going to look like in reality. But that's because that's my special zone of excellence. And all of my clients, they are so good at things that I am terrible at. That's not their zone of excellence. So being able to create the plan, get aligned on the plan, but then also kind of hold their hand and hold their team's hand as they bring it to life. It takes the pressure off of everybody involved. And I realized that that was a thing that was necessary after writing these beautiful in-depth plans and messaging guides and handing it off to the clients and then coming back to them like 6 months later and being like, wait, no, what we talked about this. Which is
Oh
fine.
my
We just need
gosh.
some it's everybody needs training wheels. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that is an experience that any creative service provider knows very well.
Yeah, the moment where you're like, "Oh, no, I don't know. Should I put this in my portfolio? This this was a much better idea in theory."
Oh my gosh. So are people checking in with you on a quarterly basis? Are they having kind of monthly check-ins where you keep them on track with how to live this all out in the world? What does that piece look like?
It's actually, much more interactive. So, basically,
Mm.
they get a certain amount of samples that they can send to me per month. And so whatever they're struggling with writing, anything that their team has written that they're like, I don't know if this quite meets the mark, they can submit it to me. And then I compare that to the guidelines that we've already created and give them constructive criticism on how to better make it match the voice that we're
Mm.
going for, or just how to, general copywriting best principles. Like if things are feeling a little disjointed, I can tell them why. It's just, yeah, and they get X number of those per month, and it's up to their discretion what is most pressing to send to me. So I've had people send
Mm.
me everything from like like the text that's going to go over a story post to like a full email or like a page of copy.
Mm, love it, because I also have a lot of those, "Can you just look at this real quick" moments, as people are designing postcards and
Right.
event booths and all the things. Yeah. It is
Yeah.
fun to be able to support people in that longer term like that, because then,
Right.
like you were kinda hinting at, the brand is expressed more consistently usually in the way that it was meant to be, in the most
Right. Right.
impactful way.
And then
Yeah.
they kind of find their own footing too. Like it's the coolest thing for me is once the client like takes the plan and kind of gets in the trenches of trying to make it a reality, they find their own they find their own lexicon. I know it's literally my business name, but it's so true. They find their own way of speaking. They find
Mm.
words that they gravitate towards. Figure out how like the things that they want to touch on. There's only so much of that you can plan in advance. Most of it is found along the way. And so having an ongoing support model helps me kind of be there for them as they're finding their footing. It's really nice.
Yeah. I love to say when people discover their work in the world, really get their
Mhm.
feet under them, that's such an
Mhm.
impactful place to be versus just being handed something and saying, "This is the perfect plan." Right? It's that
Yeah.
practice of actually living it and embodying it that's really beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
That's when it makes it
mm,
real. That's when they kind of step into their story. What's the proud
yeah.
mama moment?
Okay, also, I'm gonna break this for a second because this
Mm.
beam of light has been chasing me. So I'm just gonna,
That's
like, cut.
okay. Also, I'll close my window out back too, just in case. Good. Ready and break.
Okay, popping back to this whole idea of the long game and
Mm.
clients having the tools to really live out their brand voice, find their lexicon, find their ground. What do you think is so important about playing this long game? That this isn't just a one and done process of finding your voice.
Yeah. Well, it's a matter of accumulated trust. This is where you kind of get into the conversion marketing mindset, is because accumulated trust leads to brand loyalty, and brand loyalty leads to increased revenue. It's just true. If people know you and are familiar enough with you and have affinity with your brand, they will continue to buy over time. But in order to do that, you have to play the long game. You have to show up consistently, and not consistently in like you gotta. I know people hear that word and they cringe because they have like 5 kids and a life and they're like, I can't show up on socials every day. Not that type of consistently, but you need to stay consistent in the presentation that you have. Your voice can't sound disjointed. You can't show up one way on your website and then the emails that you send feel completely different. You have to establish trust because people crave consistency. That's actually where the break comes between who we are as people and the characters that we create in our marketing. As humans, we are fallible, we are inconsistent, we have bad days. That's totally fine. And it's okay to bring some of that into your business. People want to see what you're building. People as are interested in you as the founder and your ups and downs. But in order to build accumulated trust as a brand, you need to stay consistent and make if you're making pivots, they need to be cohesive pivots. And
Yeah.
all of that just you can't just manifest that. You actually have to build that by walking in what you've created for the long term.
Yeah. And it's wild how quickly people can spot, your brand feeling disjointed when it
Oh, yeah.
shows up a certain way. I was thinking about this recently, chatting with someone about how it's in our psychology to notice what's different. And that
Mhm.
goes just for as much for, standing out in your brand, in the sea of the other folks who are in your space, as it does for how your brand shows up in the day to day.
Right. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
again, if you think about it, like if you use my little characterization framework, if you're watching a TV series and you feel like you know a character, and then season 4 comes around and they're acting completely differently, you're gonna be mad. You're gonna stop
Yeah.
watching. Like, what the heck? She would never do this. Why are they making her do this? It breaks the
Yeah.
illusion. It breaks your trust with the person. It takes you out of the story that they're telling. It's the same thing as a brand. If you act in a way that is out of harmony with the foundation that you've built, it doesn't mean your brand can't change over time. But if you act in a way that is fundamentally opposed to the foundation that you've built, people will notice.
Hmm. How often are you seeing your people feeling that pull for evolution and change in their brand? Like
Oh, constantly.
well, maybe like every X number of years for like a more like larger evolution or
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably fair. Like it depends on their rate of growth, honestly.
Mm,
Like just like humans, the more you grow and you're at pivotal points in your growth as a human is when you want to repaint your room, right? Like
cut your hair.
yeah, cut your hair, repaint your room, change your living room, like as you grow and as things change. So it depends on how quickly they're growing and what their eventual goals are, how big they want to be. Sometimes people come to me and they are kind of in like one of their final evolutions. They're like, I've been building this business for a long time. It's almost to the point where I want it to be. I feel like we're almost stable. Then they can work on their messaging and it will serve them for a very long time because they've already had a bunch of growing pains. Other times people are like,
Yeah.
we're new. We need something that's going to grow with us. And they'll come back every, once they hit those milestones, which is different for
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, I'm just noticing a lot with the types of folks I serve and the season of business they often are in. And you're right, it does vary a lot because it's everything from 1 to 20 plus years.
Hmm.
But still a lot of people are feeling that pull every couple months. And then a lot of people are
Oh,
and then also strategically listening to the pull and pivoting every couple years in
okay.
slight ways. Yeah, but I get a lot of messages every couple months of, I'm a different person than I was when we last went through this. And it's again that
Mm.
that distinction between what does your brand need to be known for and what space does it need to hold because your people are still in
Yeah.
this season, right? Even though you've evolved, your people are still in a certain place where they need something different.
I think we've all had that friend that gets a new haircut when they really should be going to therapy. Like that's kind of
Mhm.
that's kind of the sometimes that's the vibe of like there is deeper work that needs to be done here. You can't just like changing your visuals every couple of months or changing your foundation every couple of months is not going to serve you in the long term.
No. No. No, in no way,
Yeah.
shape, or form.
I know
So
you handle those conversations so tactfully, I'm sure.
mm. A lot of notes going back and forth.
Yeah, a
And
lot of just
then the meeting.
push. Yeah, a lot of just gently holding boundaries,
Yes.
even when they feel that they really need to go past them.
Yes. Well, I mean, society doesn't help either because it's just a world of quick fixes and trends and swapping things out and, trying things on. And,
Right,
it's good to pay attention to what's going on and what trends are happening in the world and, trying certain things out just to see if they, connect in the
right.
short term. But
Mhm.
yeah, the foundation just needs to stay intact, please.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, that's actually the good thing about social media and how fast and changing it is. It is a very fertile playground for you to see like, I don't know, I kind of feel like
Yeah.
doing this. And then you can try it out, and if it doesn't work, it's off your screens immediately. No one will ever
Yes.
know.
The beauty and the pain of crafting a
Oh, yeah.
carousel over like hours only for it to disappear into the void.
Mhm. Yeah,
Mhm.
RIP all my best work.
Oh my gosh. Well, thinking about Lexicon itself, will you tell me where the name comes from? How you came up with that? Because your brand itself is just, it's stunning, it's intentional, it's captivating.
Oh.
Again, I'm one of your most loyal peeps. Let me in.
I know, I always turn to you when I need just a little top off of self-confidence. I'm like, "Did Amy like it? Okay, Amy likes it. All right, we're good." You're my canary in a coal mine. The day that I do something that you're like, "I don't know, Zoe," I'll be like, "Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. We've taken a wrong turn somewhere. Abort."
Oh my gosh.
So we touched on it a little bit, but
Hmm.
I am captivated by this idea that everybody has a unique way of speaking. Like the feeling that you get when you hang out with a group of friends and you find yourself picking up their words and their phrases, or like at least I am a person that sometimes the way that I speak changes depending on the group that I'm with. It's like whatever vibe or essence that they have, I kind of feel myself naturally slipping into it. And so when I was thinking about naming my brand, I realized that like every brand, every business has a unique vocabulary or a unique lexicon that their audience needs to hear. And it's my job to help create it or find it.
Mm.
So it's just like it's the definition of lexicon, or one of the definitions is a specific vernacular or jargon that is meaningful to a specific group of people. So I want to find your audience's lexicon. What words is significant and meaningful for your group of people?
I love it. That's the key, the specificity.
You know?
You
Yeah,
know?
and and you can't borrow someone else's. You got to go find it for yourself.
Yes. I liked the tone you used there. I'm sure no one's being called out.
just gently, just lovingly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, truly. Because like you said, people can spot it a mile away when you're just throwing on a costume and doing what you think you're supposed to be doing or what you saw somebody else do successfully. It's not something you can
Mhm.
just throw on yourself and have the same kind of intimate, true, lasting connection with your people.
Right.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. You can have there's a lot of room to have fun. There's a lot of room to play. There's a lot of room to be unexpected in the way that you show up and speak to your people. In fact, that is my whole thing, is finding a nice, refreshing, unexpected way that's going to break the cycle of what they're used to seeing. But you cannot successfully put on a persona that isn't aligned with who you are at the core. It's just, even if you do it well for a while, it's not going to be sustainable. So
Have you ever worked with a brand that was maybe a little larger and the founder or the person you were working with was a bit more distant from the brand, right? So there's a lot more people showing up, implementing, and there could
mhm.
be that, disjointedness.
Mhm. Yep, that's
Mm.
actually the space that I'm working in a lot now, which is fine. That's a challenge that I happily embrace. But that's kind of where my continuing support model went, to kind of help tether
Mm.
the inspiration that came from the founder into the execution, which is in someone else's hands. Um, and that's why I have pivoted to, I mean, I always made sure that everything that I did was grounded in strategy, but it's now a non-negotiable for me, because everybody needs a plan that they can come back to that keeps everybody on the same course. Because if you have a founder that has a lot of people that are making their dreams a reality, or that are executing the brand that they've worked hard to build, if you don't have not just a guideline, but a really quality, specific, helpful, functional guideline. And if you don't teach people how to use it, it's going to get lost in translation. It's just a game of telephone.
Mm.
So that's the space that I'm in right now, is trying to find new and increasingly more effective ways to take that vision and translate it to different teams of people verbally in different spaces that the brand is showing up, like social media and email marketing and all sorts of stuff, brand activations, things like that. Make sure that they have what they need to translate the vision into the different spaces and zones of excellence that they're working in. It's a
Yeah.
fun
Mm.
challenge.
Consistency, people.
Ugh, yeah, right.
Okay, now was it a challenge picking out that stunning artwork behind you or making it, or what is the story
Oh
there?
my
Because
gosh.
you've got like a grid of books, the
I
paper
do.
yeah, the paper is arranged 3D, it's popping off, it's unique. What's going on there?
Oh my god. The story with these books, I gotta tell you. Oh my god. All right. So my husband put this up for me. He probably made a solid, you can't see, but I have like, I think 20 of them on the wall behind me. Yeah.
Okay,
He
Mr.
did.
Lexicon.
I know. Mr. Lexicon is a man of varied and beautiful skill sets. That's why he's Mr. Lexicon. Um, No, but so these are actually from my brand shoot. You'll see these same 3D books in some of my brand imagery because my insanely talented brand designer had this vision for me in front of like a massive wall of books. This was my very first brand shoot ever. I had no idea what I was in store for. And she was a former client of mine that she's like, I love you so much. I would love to work with you and bring your brand to life. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to say no to that. I know firsthand how incredibly talented you are. But then she's like, okay, great. I've booked us a studio in LA. I'm flying in your photographer, and here are the props that you'll need. I go ahead and order 72 books and ripe apples. I'm going to need some pearls, some flowers, 3 outfit changes. And little old me is just like, okay, just trying to keep up as much as I can. So that is the that is the story of how I came to order 72 copies of uh where to live, what to buy, and who will lead Canada's future, which is the book on the wall behind me
Oh,
from an
how
Amazon mass market publisher. And I just feel so bad for whoever wrote this book because I'm picturing his publisher being like, buddy boy, you have no idea. Someone just ordered 72 of your books. You're a hit.
my gosh.
So we packed all these books up in a car and drove our butts down to LA and spent 2 hours in a studio folding them into origami shapes. And now I got to keep them forever because they're important.
I love it. Okay. Okay, I think you shared about this at some point too, the story behind the symbolism of the pearls and the apples as well, because those are very distinct and very different from books.
Yeah, this is how I learned that brand designers are magic. And how I knew that it was okay and effective to lean full force into symbolism and connotation and denotation, which I've done in my own brand since then. But my brand designer laid it out for me and kind of explains, the pearls meaning both elegance, something that is long lasting, something that evokes sophistication, which you're creating a more sophisticated product for people. You want to attract brands that are more tenured. So that sophistication is very in line, but it's also, you think about like pearls of wisdom, because my brand archetype, assuming that one of them at least is the sage and the
Mm.
educator. So having pearls of wisdom and having that education built into part of my brand was a given, and that visuals kind of reinforces it. Same with apples, apples being knowledge, apples being a little bit of academia, um, a lot of like eating apples being making sure that things are literally digestible, like cracking it open to see what's inside. It's just so freaking cool. And I had no idea that there was that much artistry in the visual component of brand building. Like I knew, but I hadn't experienced it until I was starting to build out my own brand. And that was what gave me the permission to be like, oh, okay, if you can be this extra, I can be this extra. Let's go.
I love it because, there's so much discussion, especially right now, about brands who want to be luxe, be high ticket, be sophisticated, stripping away the soul, the personality, the uniqueness. And you leaned
Mhm.
all the way in, and it's over everything you do. Like your website is so layered, and there's the movement, and there's that bold ass brand photography, and it is a moment worth noticing.
It's it,
Yeah.
it's I think it's unexpected for my industry, which is what I try to help my clients achieve as well. Things that are unexpected for their industry, because the cycle that happens is you find something that works well, then somebody tries to copy it as quickly as possible because it works well, then a bunch of people do it, then it becomes the industry standard, and pretty soon everybody is feeling the same because they're trying to learn lessons from successful brands. There's nothing wrong with that, but they're copying it just to copy, and they're not finding something that is unexpected, unique to them, and isn't afraid to fall out of line. And out of line is where I love to live and where people crave to be with a brand. They aren't looking for something that falls in line with everything else, because, and this is on my homepage, but like it makes it difficult for them to choose you if you are
Yeah.
exactly the same. And so you're making, the goal is to make yourself choosable by being unexpected in a way that is significant to your audience, not just a way that's weird for the sake of being weird.
Yes. Yeah. No, the work that moves people is rarely born from what's expected. So
Mm-hmm.
I am all in on that modality.
I know you are, girl.
You know, I've been getting asked a lot about like what unbridled form means or where it comes from because I'm
Mm-hmm.
engaged. And so chatting with a lot of wedding pros, using my work email address when I inquire. And a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
are like, oh, but now you're bridled.
Ooh.
And I'm like, different bridal.
Dang, I wish I had thought of that. That's so good.
Is it though? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Is it?
Just as wordplay, not as a way to be. Let me be clear.
Yeah, I'm getting it a lot of because the way I spell it, the way I'm intending it has to do with horses. They're a big
Mhm.
part of my life. And
Yeah.
just, finding that fullest expression of your most unbridled form. And yeah, the peeps are thinking it means the bridal industry, which is interesting.
Well, you're unbridled, so if you don't want to attract the wedding industry, you have a good excuse.
I mean, they're welcome.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
welcome. The peeps who tend to feel most at home in what I do are boudoir photographers, the loves of my lives, copywriters, other designers, and wedding and wellness pros, just because all that work is so intimate. And
Right.
like we were talking earlier with that kind of therapy adjacent work, we just
Yeah.
go so deep and it's so much more fun that way. But those other kind of intimate artistic brands that are holding space for people, they're the ones who feel most at home. So wedding pros, come on and get bridled, I guess. I don't know.
Or do something unexpected and get unbridled because yeah, the wedding industry is something that is so trend dependent and could use some people who are not afraid to break out of line.
Yes, I think the hardest decision I've had to make so far, believe it or not, has been picking my physical wedding planner, like the book that I'm going to
Hmm.
use,
Oh
because
yeah.
yeah, they all look like they're made on Canva
Yep.
with just these elementary, like botanical illustrations. They all look the same. And I finally found one by The Daily, and it's this beautiful, like linen embossed thing. And I'm like,
Oh
this is what I'm here for.
yeah, you need something that you need something tactile.
Yeah. So
But I also
those,
know that you're a very organized girly. So if you, I have a former client I'll tell you about later.
oh, okay. Yeah, please do. Oh my gosh. Well, in thinking about all this storytelling and the folks we're serving and whatnot, if you could leave people with one reminder about their own voice, what would it be? Where would you go first?
I think I would probably tell them that there's a lot of room to play. There's a lot of room for freedom. There's a lot of room for expression and to lean into unexpected parts of them, but don't fake it, which I think is a decent synopsis. Like as humans, as business owners, as founders, we are very, very multifaceted. Don't be afraid to lean into the facets of you that you maybe haven't explored before when you're creating your brand voice. But don't borrow someone else's facets. Those are not yours.
Those are not yours. A very good reminder about intellectual property too.
Yeah, also don't actually
Yeah.
steal anything from everybody else. That's definitely not yours.
Oh my gosh. Well, does anything feel left unsaid today? I could talk to you for hours, but
I know.
you
I
know.
know. There's so much that we could talk about. Let me think here. You did have a good question that I was thinking about before about where all of this kind of came from, like the unique approach and perspective, which got me thinking. That was a good shower thought for me. I appreciate
Oh,
it.
great.
It has a boring answer, but kind of a revealing one. So the where my approach to writing and storytelling really came from was, boringly enough, college. But that's just because what I did throughout my entire college period was to take a look at stories, starting at the history of the English language, going all the way up to today, taking a step back and trying and looking at what they're trying to tell us, why it was written that way, and what they're actually doing in the technique of their storytelling. Um, Over and over and over again, from different people, from different cultures, through different time periods. And it took something that I had always been able to do intuitively, which is appreciate storytelling, and solidified it to technique. And a lot of times when you kind of look under the hood of something that has been magical to you before and learn how it's put together, it kind of kills the magic. There's a fun story I could tell you about being taken behind the scenes at Disneyland when I was a very young kid.
Oh
It's
my
a tragedy.
gosh.
It's a tragedy. But in this case, it didn't. It actually increased the magic because we are all able to tell stories. We all have a unique lens that we see the world from. But this gave me the technique to actually be able to figure out how to push and pull on strings of storytelling and to evoke things from historical context, how to be sensitive to things from historical contexts and connotations and things like that, to paint a far more richer story than the one lens that I was able to have just from the way that I was raised in my experience of walking through the world. So that I got that through the literature and literary side of things. And then at the same time, I minored in theater. So it gave me a real appreciation for the tactile and the audience connection and the significance that creating a space and a world for people to step into had, and like the significance of holding something in your hand and how rich that can be and how you can connect with people that way. So like I appreciate you sending me that question because it made me take a step back and be like, how did I get here? It was a good ride.
I'm sorry. Also, did you start that with this is going to be a boring answer?
Well, the boring answer is I learned it in college. Like, no.
Okay. Well, there we go. I was thirsty, so I bought a Coke version.
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
I am here for people who want to stay for the long version. So that's a good story.
Thank goodness.
I wonder, I was thinking the other day about where my approach came from, and I always think
Yeah.
back to a kind of sarcastic, kind of snarky, like rebel without a cause paper I wrote when I was a career firefighter.
Oh, heck yeah. What? I didn't know this about you. Of freaking course
Oh,
you
yeah.
were.
I spent 10 years in the fire department and then just realized at one point, like, I just could not be a mom or even a full human doing that
Yeah.
long term. So
Yeah.
it was time to pivot back to previous roles in corporate marketing and whatnot. But
The natural path, the natural progression from
the
career
natural
firefighter to
path,
corporate
yeah.
marketer.
How can I do this but not do this again?
Hmm.
Yeah. And the paper was about I was in a class to become a licensed EMT, and you
Hmm.
had to write just any paper about EMS.
Hmm.
And I had no interest in EMS at that point. It was just something you had to do to do that job. And so
Right.
I wrote the paper about the need for people to have a sense of autonomy, growth, and purpose in life.
Sure. Classic EMS
Sure.
stuff.
Classic EMS stuff. And I tied it back to our department at the time. This is where the snarky part comes in, where I was like, here's where we're lacking.
Got them like, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. You're like, yeah, we're not doing that. We should.
It wasn't a story-led organization. And I had been a part of one. The first department I was a part of was so
Mhm.
story-led. The founder was alive, just the mission and all these pieces of the history were just coursing through the blood of that organization for so
Mm.
long. And so to come from that and then to this more transactional place that
Mhm.
inspired my paper. But I was thinking about it
Yeah.
recently about how that just so ties into the archetypes and these stories and motivations that are all alive within us. Anyway, this need for, autonomy, growth, and purpose, the stability, the expansion, the play and creativity, that maybe those boil down to. And I wondered, why was I intuitively thinking about that so much at that point of my life? And how the heck did I end up here? But
I love that. I also love that because, you and I are both big archetype stands. I love that you associate the archetype with our need for growth and expansion and play. And I think that people that don't like archetypal structure don't like it because they feel like it's the opposite. They feel like it's restraining. So I like that you obviously like found your way to that, but also you probably look at it the way that I look at it, which is like threads of commonality.
yeah,
It's not a constraint. It's ways in which we're similar, and it's a shorthand for helping us relate to each other.
exactly. Just beautiful patterns of connection if we allow ourselves to see the opportunity in it. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Again, I can't imagine why you didn't stay in EMS long term. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure
Oh my
you
gosh.
were stunning in that role. It's your natural calm and connection and stuff like that. I'm sure that was a beautiful place when you were actually working, probably less when you actually had to have a life outside of it. But
Yes. Yep. But it's all good because we all got where we needed to be. At least you and I did. I don't know who the all is. Don't know what I'm.
everybody here, present and accounted for, ended up
Oh
right where
my
we belonged.
gosh. Well, I am so glad we carved out this time together. It has been so
Me
fun
too.
chatting for the first time today. You're still my idol. Meet your idols, everybody. Sometimes they're real.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so lovely. I knew it would be lovely, but it was just as lovely as I expected.
The Stories That Form Us is a production of Unbridled Form, where I serve intimate, artistic brands like boudoir, maternity, wedding, and fine artists through story-led branding and web design. If you're in a season of exploring the stories that form you, I invite you to download the free brand storytelling guide at unbridledform.com/storytelling. See what it reveals for you and where it might lead you next. You'll find a link in the show notes. See you next time.